The time has come to show off your beautiful plumage to the world, and maybe find a peacock love connection. This is Enchanted Plumes, a 2 to 6 player card game by Calliope Games for ages 8 and up that takes 30 minutes to play. In the game, players try to complete magical peacocks by laying out plumes in rows from top to bottom, using multiple colors of feathers while matching cards of the same color from row to row. The player with the most valuable plumes in the end wins the game. To set up, first set aside the peahen card, then prepare the feather deck based on the number of players. If you're playing with 5 or 6 players, you'll use all the cards. For a 2-player game, remove all cards with values 7, 8, and 9. For 3 players, remove all cards with values 8 and 9, and for a 4-player game, remove all cards with values 9. Return all of the removed cards to the box, as they won't be used for this game. Shuffle the remaining cards and deal 9 to each player. Everyone should look at their cards and choose 6 to keep as their starting hand. All the cards that weren't chosen get shuffled back into the deck. Then, without looking at them, take the top 7 cards from the deck and shuffle the peahen card you set aside earlier into it. Then place the short stack on the bottom of the deck. The peahen will be one of the last 8 cards in the deck. Put the feather deck in the middle of the table. Then reveal 5 cards in a line extending out from the deck. This is called the train. The player who last saw a peacock now takes the first turn. On your turn, you'll play 1 or 2 cards, then replenish your hand. First, play 1 or 2 cards to either start a new plume or add to an existing plume. Both cards don't have to go toward the same plume. When you build a plume, you'll play feather cards in rows from top to bottom, matching cards of identical colors from row to row. Cards placed in the top row of a plume will be scored as negative points, while cards placed in all lower rows will be scored as positive points. Once you start a lower row of cards, you can't add to higher rows in that plume. The top row can have any number of feather cards, and every row below it must have 1 fewer than the row above it. So if the top row of a plume had 4 cards, the one below it would have 3. Then the one below that would have 2, down to the 1 card in the bottom row. Colors in the plume are important. The top row can have any color in it, but after that, all lower rows can only include colors that are in the row above it. It's okay to duplicate a color in the same row, but it will limit what you can play below it. And lower cards can't be started without filling up the current one. A peacock is complete when its plume tapers down to a single card row at the bottom. When you place that bottom card, it still has to follow all the rules for building a plume, but you can play it face down instead of face up. That way, its exact value is a mystery until you reveal it during final scoring. After you've played 1 or 2 cards to start a new plume or grow an existing one, you replenish your hand in one of 3 ways. You can draw 2 cards from the feather deck, you can swap 2 cards from your hand with 2 from the train, or, in either order, draw 1 card from the feather deck and swap 1 card from your hand with 1 in the train. Keep in mind that your hand limit is 6, and you may never draw a 7th card. After you've replenished your hand, play passes clockwise to the next player. As soon as the peahen card is drawn from the feather deck, the game immediately ends, and scoring begins. To start off scoring, all plumes score points, even if the peacock was not completed. And score each plume 1 by 1. The top row card values are always considered negative points, but cards in all other rows are positive points. Subtract the total of the top row values from the total of all other cards in the lower rows in order to determine the peacock's score. Plumes containing only 1 card are always scored as negative. You also get 1 bonus point for each card in a completed peacock. Incomplete peacocks don't score bonus points. For example, this complete peacock was made up of 10 cards, so it scores 10 bonus points. Your final score is equal to the total value of your plumes plus any peacock bonus points. The player with the highest score wins, with ties going to the player who has the most peacocks. If you're still tied, it's a shared victory. And that's how you play Enchanted Plumes. designed by Brendan Hansen and published by Calliope Games. Thanks so much for watching, and remember to be bold, play games, and be you. Happy gaming!